Hi guys, it's Robin with Robin Stampin' Hood. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do 3 simple techniques for watercoloring. So grab those watercolor brushes and let's go. Okay everybody, so we are going to get started with some very simple watercoloring techniques. So some of you have supplies from me, others will not. You'll be just seeing this video, but I will try to explain as we go along what you're doing. So first of all, you will need some reinkers. For this particular card, I'm using the Highland Heather and the Pool Party. If you don't have reinkers, don't worry about it. Just grab an ink pad and I'll show you how you can pull ink from the ink pad as well. For me, I'm going to use the reinkers to start to show this is one of the techniques, but you definitely don't have to have the reinkers, but it does make life a little bit more interesting, or easier, I should say. So the first card we're going to do is this. It really is a basic watercolor card, okay? And we're going to use our Fluid 100 watercolor paper that we sell. It's a heavier duty paper that can absorb the water better than our regular Whisper White. So I love it because it's heavy and it's a little textured. So we'll start with that. And this piece is cut to, I believe it's, well, let's look, shall we? 5 by 3.5. So that's what that piece is cut to. We're using Gorgeous Grape and Highland Heather. And again, we're going to use some Pool Party. So the first thing I'm going to do, we'll set this aside, and I'm just going to put a little bit of reinker in my little dish here. And again, some of you have supplies from me. So this is what you would use your little dish for. Make sure you have water in your watercolor brushes. Now, Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell these particular watercolor brushes anymore. But you can use these with the new ones that we sell as well. They come 2-tip. There's a little bit of a thicker tip, and then there's a little bit of a smaller tip, more of a fine brush. So I'm going to use the thicker one for this particular one. I'm squeezing the water, so make sure your little barrels are filled with water. Get the water down to the tip of your brush, and then you are going to take your color from your reinker and you're just going to color stripes. It's pretty easy. So again, this is just a very basic technique, and I'm just creating stripes. They're not going to all be the same. They're just going to be a random background pattern. That's all we're creating. And I'm using that up pretty quick. And that's okay. Okay, so now we're going to come back. I'm just going to get rid of the rest of this color because I want to switch my colors. So you can take a piece of paper and you can, oops, as you hear all my things fall to the ground, you can take and just wipe off the paper. I should have had a piece of paper with me. So the next one, you're just going to do the exact same thing. You're just creating a background. That's all we're doing. There's nothing fancy about it. Everybody's is going to look just a little bit different. And I probably didn't put enough reinker in there for me, but that's okay. Again, just creating a background. So that's what you're doing there. You can see it's very different from this background. I did smaller lines for that, but I wanted just to do this a little bit bigger. So that's what you're going to do, and you're going to just let that dry. Okay, as we're waiting for this to dry, we'll go ahead and put together the rest of the card. So this is just Highland Heather, a half sheet of Highland Heather. I'm just going to score it here, and then this is a 1/4 sheet, less than a 1/4 sheet of the Gorgeous Grape. So this would be 4 by 5 1/4, the Gorgeous Grape. I always just go down. If you have problems with your what you should cut things to, I always just go down by 1/4 of an inch. You can get fancier and do it by 1/8 of an inch, but for most people it's easier for the 1/4 of an inch. So this piece of paper was cut at 5.5. From an 11 by 8.5, it was cut at the 5.5 mark. So then from there, I'm just going to do 5 1/4 by 4. So that's a perfect match for that. Again, we're waiting for this piece to dry. So while we wait for that piece, I want to show you this great new punch that we have. So this piece of paper is cut, I believe, to 5 by just like a 1/2 inch, I think I cut it to. Yes, a 1/2 of an inch. Or I could have done a 3/4 of an inch. Let me see. Yep, I did 3/4 of an inch. So this punch creates multiple sizes of labels, which I love. So you can see on this, I have that label there. Well, what I've done here is, so you want to, of course, unlock it. So this will actually create for me 6 different types of ends to my labels, which I love. I mean, this is the most versatile punch that they have come up with. So what I'm going to do is I want to stamp. We're going to actually stamp thanks a bunch on here. So I'm gonna do the sides first. So I want to use actually I want to use this side. So I'm just fitting it right in. So this is 3 sizes. This is a 1/2 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and an inch. So I've actually cut mine at 3/4 of an inch. So I'm sliding it on that ledge that holds the 3/4 of an inch, pushing it back as far as I can go, and I'm going to punch. And there I have my end right there. And I'm going to switch it over, turn it over, and do the same thing. And now I have this piece that's this long. Now I could make this shorter. I could make it much longer if I wanted to. And I can make it a 1/4 of an inch thicker. Because like I said, this is a 3/4 of an inch. So I could make it smaller, or I could make it a 1/4 of an inch larger. So I love it because you don't always have those label punches that you would like to use. So I'm kind of lazy that way. So I love this new punch system. So what I'm going to do, this is a little bit longer than that one. Actually, it's much longer. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and cut this off because I think I made it just a tad too long. So I'm just going to cut a piece off here. We'll do that again. And we're going to put it back in. And I hope I didn't make it too short, but I don't think so. So there you go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take my black ink and I'm going to ink up my words here. And I'm punching or I'm stamping a little off to the side because I want enough room for my ribbon. Yeah, this is much better size. I'm just giving it a nice even pressure. Beautiful. That's all I need. And you guys always make sure you're storing these kinds of inks upside down because you want to continue to bring the ink to the top of the pad. So make sure you're always storing it that way. Okay, so now we're still waiting for this to dry. It's a little wet, which is fine. And oops, I actually grabbed the wrong, but you know what? I think that works too. Now I'm going to grab this other ribbon. So I'm going to take this ribbon, and I just cut way too much, but that's okay. And we're going to wrap it around the edge. And I'm not tying a bow or anything. I'm just tying a knot. I am not a bow tire, so don't be intimidated by just tying a little bit of a knot. And obviously I took way too much ribbon, so don't be a ribbon waster like me. And I'm gonna just cut these to the side like that. And then you can just play around with it a little bit. And that's gonna be my thank you card. So then we're gonna go ahead and we'll lay this down. It's, for the most part, dry. I can feel it still has a little bit of water in it, but that's okay. I really like the glue. It helps hold things down so much better than the double-sided tape. So you will see me use glue in almost everything that I do. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm going to take my dimensionals and see how I do with my dimensionals too. My edges, I never ever let those go to waste. So I'm going to use those. And I'm going to put one right over here. Okay. And then that can just lay along the bottom. So there you go. There is your first very simple watercolor card. Okay, so let's start the second card. So the second card, we're using the really fun, well, we use the words for this as well, the Celebrate Sunflowers. That's what we used on this card when we used the Thanks a Bunch. So that's from this. So this will be the next set that we're going to use, is Celebrate Sunflowers. Fun set. Makes you feel happy. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and stamped my sunflower. And I just used the big sunflower. Here's your most important tip when you're watercoloring. You have to use the Stazon. Stazon is for watercoloring. If you use the Memento, it will spread and be ugly. The Stazon, I think of it like a Sharpie. Like it stays on, it's a Sharpie. It's permanent. It's not going to move when you watercolor it. But you don't use it with the alcohol markers. So that's the most important thing. Stazon is only for using with watercoloring. So I have stamped that in Stazon. And how I told you earlier about if you didn't have the ink bottles, the reinkers, it's fine. All you need is your ink pad. So what I do is I'm squeezing, I can't tell if you can tell, but I'm squeezing my pad to actually touch the inside of my lid. So when I open it, I'm getting that little pot of ink. So that's what you want to do. So that's what we're going to use for our watercoloring instead of the reinkers if you didn't have them. So you can do that now. So this, I'm just making sure it's clean. That's what we used before. But I think I'm going to use the more fine-tipped one on this. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to grab your ink. And what I like to do is the darker of the ink, I'm going to put right along the black lines of my image. Because Stampin' Up's telling me that's where all the shadow is. So I want to put all my shadow darker, if that makes sense. So they've already told me with how they've done it that that's what should be darker. So I'm trying to do that first. I'm going to get all my dark done first. And it's drying as I'm talking, and that's okay. I just want to make sure all my dark ink is going to hit those dark spots. And then I'm going to come back in and just do a little bit lighter watercoloring. But I want to try to get it as uniform as I can. It's pretty easy. You can see as I'm grabbing the ink, it's going away and it's becoming lighter. And now I'm going to go back in and do most of my things lighter. Because now I've colored in all my darker things. So, or for the most part. I mean, it doesn't have to be. But can you see how it's lighter now as I'm doing that? So you can see how you can see my dark, because you want the shadow and you want the light. Pretty easy peasy, right? But I'm running out of color, so I need to add some more here. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to flip it over and give it another press for myself. That was good. Like I said, sometimes you need really good strength to do it and sometimes you don't. It just depends on the pad. So I'm going to add more color where there's white spots to make my flower as pretty as I can to make it look like a sunflower. Because you don't just want it one color, right? You want to have it some different colors. All right, we're going to touch up where all the white's showing now with the lighter colors. And again, it's watercolor, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Think of Monet, kind of watery, right? I just don't want all that white, so I'm covering up the white here. All right, so I think that works. Now I want to do my center, and I'm going to use Cajun Craze for that, so it's a little bit darker. We're going to do the same thing. Oop. So I didn't get a real good pot of that, so we're going to try that again. Give it a real good squeeze a couple times. All right, there, much better. Okay, we'll scoot that over. All right, and then we're just gonna, I'm gonna put the dark right in the middle, the darkest part of it. And then I'm gonna come through with the lighter color along the sides. Again, Stampin' Up! Has given me guidelines, you know, of what, I'm gonna make this a little like soupier for me around the outsides. So there you go. So like I said, Stampin' Up! Has given me those guidelines of here should be the dark, here should be the light. So think about that when you're watercoloring, using your blends, using your watercolor pencils, that kind of does it. So there you go. There is your watercolored sunflower. So to get the excess ink off, I'm just taking it and hitting it. And so you know how I showed you this awesome punch before, right? So we're going to use it again. And now this one, this is where I was saying you can cut it bigger at 1 inch. So I cut this a little bit bigger at the inch. Look at that fun, right? And then flip it around, cut it at the inch, and there you go. So now you have your label. And the nice thing is you don't have to cut exactly the same thing. So I'm just going to keep this rectangle, and let's go in with my Stazon. And we're going to do the thanks a bunch again. Okay. Whoops. I'm not real happy with that, so I'm gonna ink that up again and flip it over. That's the beautiful thing about having two sides, right? My Stazon probably needs to be re-inked. I'm guessing. We'll give it a nice, oh, much better. Okay, so before I put my hands back in that, we'll go ahead and, this was the bad side, right? I just flipped it without looking. So, like I said, I love that about the punch, that look at, I've just created with the one punch, you know, like a totally different type of label, which I love. So now we're going to go ahead and take our black piece and put that down on it. And we have that. It's still a little wet, but it will work with the glue. And then this is our our thick cardstock. And I pre-scored that because you always need to do that with the thick cardstock. And I'm just going to give it some glue. Okay. How pretty is that? I just love the sunflowers and all these beautiful sunflower fields that they have now. So look, that's going to be awesome, isn't it? So I'm going to do that. Okay. Got a little glue on the edge, but that's okay. Put that down there. And then to finish the card, we always need a little bit of bling, right? So these are in the big book, in the annual catalog. These are the Holiday Rhinestones, which I love because they have all the different colors. So I'm just going to take these little babies. Now, do I want to do them there? Which, you know, I have on my sample, I have them in the middle, but I think I'm going to put them right here. See how you can just change things up and it's great? Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, and there you go. So there is your second card. Pretty easy. Okay, here is our third and last card. This is my absolute favorite card. So, you know we all love Wink of Stella, right? Like, it's my absolute favorite to put that little extra blingy bling 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 in it. So we are going to use Wink of Stella instead of our aqua painters to color what we have here. So these colors are Pool Party, Highland Heather, and Flirty Flamingo. So I've pre-done some of mine so you didn't have to watch me do it, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first thing, and you could use, again, your pads, but the reinkers, you'll see how quickly it gets used up. So I'm going to put some Highland Heather. You notice I put a lot more in there than I did when I did my watercoloring. And then this is Flirty Flamingo. So I'm just going to show you real quick how to do this. You are just going to love it. So I'm doing it on a little piece of paper because it gets a little messy. I didn't finish this one because I want to kind of show you how to do it. So of course you want to shake up your Wink of Stella, get your, oh, I just shook my whole desk when I did that. I thought I had more of these and I'm going to have to order more because I love them so much. So I'm going to do finish my Highland Heather here. And I know it's probably really hard to see, but it is creating, it's glittering. I don't think you can see it on my camera, but it is creating this amazingly beautiful glitter piece of paper. And you can make this as dark or as light as you want. You can see where I have a little variations of color there. And again, you're going to do this just like the aqua painter where you're going to get the rest of the color off of it. And now I'm going to go to my other color here. This is the Flirty Flamingo. And you can see how quickly you use up the color on this. So if you have reinkers, I would for sure use the reinkers on this. Although, like I said, you can do what we've done with the pads, pressing them into your lid to get that color. I wish you guys could see the glitter that's coming through. It's just gorgeous. It just gives it that little extra something something. You know what I mean? So see, I'm already running out of this. So we're going to do that. And gosh, I'm going to place an order today for more Wink of Stellas. You can hear I'm almost out of it. I just ran out on my other one. I thought I had more pens, but I don't. I'm so sad about it. So this one might not come across quite as glittery, but you can certainly see in this, on my purple one, on the Highland Heather one, on how gorgeous it is. Let's see. So there, that's all you're doing to create. I'm so sad because I think that was my last Wink of Stella there. So you can see, I think you can see the pretty glitter from that. And then I kind of did a different one here. I just did different colors. But you can see where I stopped and started. So you probably want to watch that just a little bit. So I'm going to set these aside to dry. Oh, you can see there's a little glitter on that one. It's not as good. Like my pen was starting to dry out. I've used it many, many times. I've created this over and over again. So you definitely want your Wink of Stella for this. So let's go ahead and finish off the card. I'm going to get this out of there before I put my fingers in it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my pool party, because that was the green that we used, or the blue green, I guess it is. And I'm using the Forever Fern. So that's where this set comes in. And these are the die cuts for this set. I guess I didn't tell you that. So these are die cuts for this set. I love this set. It's one of my favorite new sets. If you can't get a lot of sets, this is definitely one you want to do. So I'm going to stamp my hello first. Get that lined up. I guess I should have had that prepared. I'm just going to stamp on the bottom. Hello. Hello, beautiful. And then I'm going to just do a random background. In the Forever Fern set, there's this little just scattering, and I thought that was a good background for this. So I'm just going to kind of randomly stamp all over. There's no rhyme nor reason. I like to kind of switch my stamp around a little bit so it doesn't look exactly, you know, the same when you're stamping. So, and you could even, when you're doing this, you could even just do the double stamping where it's, you know, giving the second generation of ink, I guess is what they call it. I call it Stampin' Off, but just to kind of fill in some of the white spots. Okay, so that's all we're doing there. And now we're just going to come back and put these beautiful pieces down that we've created. So actually I'll leave it like that. It's wanting to pop up. So we're going to do some just laying, because this one isn't my favorite. Like I said, I kind of messed it up a little bit, but it's okay. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. Oops. I think I got it probably a little too wet when I was doing it, and now I'm out of Wink of Stella, and that makes me super sad. Super sad. Okay, so I'm going to lay that down, give it a nice little press, and then I'm going to come through with my... I know a lot of people wonder why I use glue. It holds better for where I live. I'm in Wisconsin, and I wasn't really liking the snail anymore. I felt like my cards were falling apart. So I'm a big glue user. I know a lot of people don't like it. You have to kind of get used to it. When they first came out with it, I was not a fan of it. I was getting it everywhere, and it was just a mess. But now I really like it. So there we have that. And then I'm going to take my next one. I mean, I just love the Wink of Stella. I'm so glad that they carry it. You can use it for so many things. Like in my Christmas card class that I'm going to do, we're going to use it for giving my little gnomes some little extra blingy on their beards. Okay, and then I'm just going to lay that there. Isn't that pretty? And then I've just done this little bow on this pretty ribbon that we now sell. And, well, last night I had my, oh, there they are. I was going to say my glue dots is what I like to use for holding down ribbon. So if you've not used glue dots, make sure you're touching your project to the glue dot and not your finger. And then you pull it off, and then you just stick her right on there. And look at that fun, beautiful watercolor card. I I just love it. This is so one of my favorite techniques. So there you go, guys. There are all the fun cards. Let's put those back out so you can see all the fun cards that we did in this very simple, easy watercolor class. Thank you for joining me. And if you'd like to purchase any of the products that you've seen today, you can go to my website, and it's Robin Scherzer. You know what? I'll just show you this. How about that? You can shop at robinscherzer.stampinup.net. Please use that hostess code if you are purchasing anything before September 29th. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a great day. Happy stamping!